Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Strange Parts Show and Tell stream. How's everybody doing? Good to see you all. Hello, hello. Hey, DJ Kookie. Hey, Coldfire. Hey, I can't say that. Bobobilio. How's it going? Hey, Sir Sailboat. Hey, Scave Rat. Thank you for moderating today, Scave Rat. This is going to be a little bit of an adventure, everyone, because we have a significantly different streaming setup to allow guests to come on the stream. So we're using a totally new software setup, and so bear with us. This is kind of a trial run slash dress rehearsal slash soft open here. So, I totally did read your name wrong, Sir Saibot. Saibot. But yeah, I totally read it as Sailboat, which is not really all that close. Hang on one sec. I gotta change a setting on my headphones here because I have too much noise cancellation on. And it sounds weird and it's making me talk weird. Hang on. I love me some headphone accommodations, but it doesn't always work for all circumstances. It's not always the best thing for all circumstances. Okay, turn it off and let's reconnect to the desktop here. Hey, Warlord. Yeah, it's good to see you all again, too. I am glad to be back streaming again. All right, I think I got it. Sweet. Hey, Laysport. Things are going well. I'm so excited to be back to work and finally back to streaming. So I'm sorry it's been so long. It took me a while. If you don't know, I had a concussion, almost probably 18 months ago now. And it took me the better part of a year to kind of kick it. And so I'm just ramping things back up now that I'm finally feeling healthy again. So yeah. The bust up on the shelf is Homeless Elvis. And it's an animatronic. It was a consumer electronics, like commercially available, mass-produced animatronic head of Elvis that sings and can curl its lip like Elvis did. And I have plans for it. I was given it a couple years ago, and I have not yet gotten around to hooking it up. But yeah, I have some plans. I don't know that it works right now. It's definitely been monkeyed with before, so I don't know its current state, but there's a wire sticking out of the bottom, which makes me think it might not be completely factory set up right now. Yeah, and yes, there is a dog here. Ambrose is here, who some of you longtime stream watchers may recognize. He's up here visiting for a couple weeks, so you probably see him again on future streams. We just went outside and played, so hopefully he'll be relatively quiet. He didn't get enough exercise yesterday, and he's been absolutely mauling me, or he was yesterday. So trying to climb in my lap and stuff. So yeah, hey Alex, yeah, thanks. It feels so good to be healthy again. So yeah, yeah. Let's see, and what's cool about Restream is I can click on comments and show them while I'm talking about them. So I did not get Elvis while filming a sponsored video. I was given him by somebody at the SuperCon conference that's put on by Hackaday, which is my absolute favorite conference. It's like a who's who of the hobby electronics world. So if you're into electronics and particularly electronics that are not for work, just electronics for fun, it is the place to be. It's a very small conference. And, it's a little bit of a hidden secret. So yeah, put it on your calendar. It's usually in November, so beginning in November. Yeah. Ambrose is so calm because he just went and ran around a whole bunch. This is not always his normal state, or this is not his only state. But we just played a bunch of fetch, and he ran around the neighborhood. Up here in the mountains, like when I was on the Native American reservation, he can just run free and the neighbors don't mind. So there are other dogs that roam free around the neighborhood. So mostly just try and keep him out of trouble. As long as he doesn't get into people's trash, or bark at them or climb in their cars or tangle with any of the wildlife, we're good. So we have bears up here. They should be sleeping right now. I haven't seen any in months. But we have had a mountain lion in the neighborhood that I haven't seen, but a few people have caught on their security cameras, and I've seen video of it on Nextdoor of all things. And someone said it killed a deer in their driveway. So we have a lot of deer around. So yeah. So just trying to keep him out of trouble, but he's a pretty good boy. I did go to the last SuperCon. It was super fun. It was I really missed it during the few years it was online for COVID. So I went. It was fantastic, and I can't wait to go back next year. It's by far my favorite conference. I even gave a talk this year, which I think you can find on YouTube. Maybe somebody can post a link in the chat, or maybe Scaverat can. I think you can't post links by default; they get filtered. But maybe Scaverat can post it when he's got a chance. Yes, I will be going back to China, hopefully soon. China has opened back up. You can get a visa again. Tourist visas, last I heard, are still not open, but you can't. All of the visas pre-pandemic are suspended, and you have to reapply for a new visa, even if you have one that's still valid, like I do. Americans can get a 10-year visa to China, multiple entry, and but you can get a business visa, which requires an invite from like a factory or another business that you're working with. Usually it's factories. And yeah, all the quarantine restrictions and things like that have gone away. So that was the big thing that was holding me back before, was that the quarantine was so long. It just didn't make sense to go to China and sit in a hotel for weeks. So yeah, I'm working on all the preparations for a trip right now. So we'll see. I don't have a date locked down yet, but hopefully in the next couple months is the plan here. So yeah. What else? So I think just to take a step back in terms of timing, I think we'll continue doing a little more Q&A, and then we'll do some show and tell. And maybe I'll start with showing off one or two of the things that I have sitting in front of me, and then we'll invite some guests on here. So if you have something you want to show off, let's see. So I'm still getting used to this interface, but we've got some cool things pop up. So if you'd like to be a guest, you can go to strangeparts.com/show and tell, and it's a quick little Google form that you can fill out, and it just allows me to sort of plan who we're inviting up and know what I'm getting into before I invite you up. Let me pull up that form here. I know we've got a couple people signed up right now, and you can either be live with me on the stream. You can show your face if you want to. You can just show the thing that you want to show. All you need is a browser. You can do it from your phone. Or if you want, you can just do a little, give me a couple sentence write up on your thing that you want to show off, and either some photos or a video, and I'll just pull it up and we can talk about it. And if you don't want to be on stream, that's totally fine. So yeah, please, and don't feel like you have to have something incredible to show off. I've got just little bits and bobs here. So just something that you think other people would be interested in. So even if it's not finished, especially if it's not finished. So it is totally fine to show off things in progress, show us your workspace, show us a cool thing you bought. It doesn't have to be something you made, whatever you think is interesting. So yeah, so we'll go back to doing some Q&A here. Scroll up here. Scaverat, if you have time, if you want to star comments on Restream, I'll dig through those. But right now I'll just dig through the backlog. So why do I live at several thousand feet? I actually live much higher than several thousand feet. I actually live at 8,000 feet. And I don't have a camera that I can easily point out the window, and it's snowing outside, or it's not snowing outside, it's snowing one ridge over. But from where I am sitting right now, I can look out the window and see a 13,000 foot peak. And I just have this incredible view up here, and I love the mountains. My parents were both rock climbers from before the time I was born, backpackers. So I grew up in a very outdoorsy family and have spent a lot of time outdoors. And so, yeah, it's just, it isn't necessarily convenient all the time for strange parts. And it isn't necessarily like, if I had a place to choose to live for strange parts, this wouldn't be it. But this is the place that makes my heart happy, and I just really love living here. I love seeing animals off the back deck, and I love having wonderful views. And I'm like 30 minutes to go climb a proper mountain. So that's, I really like that, and it's, I don't know, I just kind of like being out a little bit away from the city, but I'm still close driving wise. I'm 35 minutes down the mountain to the edge of Denver. So, and there's a little town here called Pine Junction that I'm not very far away from. And there's like a coffee shop and a restaurant bar and a post office and a hardware store, which is by far the most important thing. And so, I don't have to go that far to kind of get the necessities. I'm about 15 minutes from two big grocery stores, like a Safeway and a King Soopers and things like that. So, it's not even, I don't even have to go all the way down the mountain to get kind of basic life necessities. I probably only go down the mountain maybe once a week. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. The problem with elevation when I was in Picaris Pueblo, the Native American reservation during sort of the heart of COVID, the big problem there was the scanning electron microscope, and being at altitude from a physics perspective was complicated because it changes the distance that electricity, high voltage electricity, can jump a spark gap in the air. And I don't have a scanning electron microscope here, and I eventually would like to get a scanning electron microscope in the lab, but it's going to be a factor of we're going to need to factor in elevation. But yeah, I plan to continue having home base be up here in the mountains, somewhere in this area. So I probably have one more move ahead of me here. I'm renting this place, and it's not an unlimited lease. So but I have plans. The next move hopefully will be the final one. It'll be a permanent Scotty and Strange Parts compound. So I'm very excited about that. Lots of exciting things to happen there, but I haven't found the right piece of land yet, so I've been searching for that. All right, catch up on chat here. Oh, Skabret's posted pinned some stuff for me. So Randy says, I wanted to thank you because you gave me inspiration to try and design a product for photographers, which he is, basically a reverse flash trigger for photographers who shoot with constant light, a device that would shut off, doesn't show all of it, shut off other lights for focusing in the dark while shooting in the dark. I don't quite understand that. I got the prototype built and working, and it's because I saw your videos on YouTube. That's awesome. That makes me really happy to hear, Randy. Whenever people say, hey, you inspired me to do something cool, you inspired me to do something I didn't think I could do, that just makes me really happy. He says, glad you're healing up, and I'll miss your YouTube stuffs. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm pretty much healed at this point. So that feels really, really good. If you'd like, I'd love to have you show off your reverse flash trigger and tell us more about it. So go ahead and fill in that form. I'll throw up the link again real quick here. Just go to strangeparts.com/show-and-tell. Even if you want to just send us some pictures and maybe a little bit more explanation, and I can read it and show the photos, that'd be awesome. What else have we got here? Have I continued practicing Mandarin? I have not. I've been lazy. It would have been a great idea to spend the past couple years really getting fluent. I've been working super hard on getting the channel, trying to keep the channel alive and heal and all those things. So I would like to get back to practicing Mandarin, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and get a one-on-one Mandarin tutor, because I think that'll probably be the fastest way to learn. Because for me, it's really about conversation is the most important thing, and just getting really, really fluent with conversation. And I don't know, when we learn language in school, it's so much like rote memorization. Actually, there's a great video by Johnny Harris about this, that's comparing learning languages to video games. And I really liked his explanation of, when you learn, like I learned French in school. I've taken 5 years of French. My vocabulary is pretty large, considering I used to be able to conjugate all the verbs in all the different ways. And yet I can't speak French very well, right? I can't carry on a conversation without great difficulty. And it's because I didn't get a lot of experience just trying to speak, right? And trying to get points across. Whereas languages that I know far fewer words in and far fewer grammatic rules, I'm far more fluent in, because I learned them while I was in the country and trying to speak it every day. And so I was learning vocabulary that I was immediately using. And I wasn't going off a course. I was literally sitting with a dictionary and writing flashcards that were words that I had tried to use that day that I didn't know, or that I needed that day that I didn't know. And then I'd drill on them that night and then go out and use them the next day. And so, having that experience is really valuable. Is the current locale also problematic for electron microscopes? Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, I don't have one up here right now, but it's even higher than Pickery's was, so by a few hundred feet. So yeah, it hasn't gotten any better as far as I know. It's also not any more humid, which was the other issue, is that it was so dry in Pickery's. So yeah, it's very dry here too, particularly during the winter. Am I planning on setting up strange spare parts again? So the spare parts robot. Yes, at some point. So spare parts is sitting out of frame on a shelf over there, but it's a robot about this big that is viewer controllable on via Twitch, and we spent a bunch of time on stream building it and programming it a year or two ago. The reason that I haven't turned it back on and got it working is that this shop has stairs, and it would not fare well with stairs. So I don't quite know what to do about that. But yeah, I think I would like to do something like that again, at least. Yeah, so we'll see. Yeah, what else we got going on here? All right, I'm catching up here on language learning. The fastest way to learn a language is getting a native speaking girlfriend. Yes, this is true. And I've met a lot of Western guys in China that have applied this method, either to learn or to just have a default translator all of the time. So yes, that is definitely a known method, particularly in China. Steve wants me to say something in French, and my French is really not good enough. I would much rather say something in like Bahasa than I would in French. Yeah. Steve says we should open multilingual channels. I'm assuming you mean on Discord. And the challenge there is that it's hard for us to moderate because not all the mods speak all of those languages. So, but I'm happy to talk more about it in Discord. Maybe if we have enough mods that speak a language, it's okay. I won't necessarily participate if I don't speak a language, but yeah. And even Mandarin, like I don't read Mandarin, so I'm not focused on that, because I was saying earlier, like conversation is the most important part to me, because machine translation is good enough these days that really it's being able to speak with people that's the most important part. I know Bahasa from traveling in Malaysia. I when I was a young, impressionable youth, I was like 23, 24, I did a 16-month trip through the Pacific and Australia and Southeast Asia. So I spent a month in Fiji and like 5 months in Australia, 5 or 6 months in Australia, and then 9 months in Southeast Asia. And I spent a bunch of time in Malaysian Borneo, which I really fell in love with when I first got there. And so I learned it there. I volunteered at an eco resort helping plant coral. And so that was a lot of the time that I spent learning Bahasa, just talking with the local kids who worked there and stuff. But it was a little bit of a challenge because a lot of the local kids that worked at the resort, and I shouldn't say kids, they were young to old men of varying ages. But there was a little fishing village right next to the eco resort. And they were, I didn't learn for quite a while, but they were Bajau, which is actually a Filipino minority that are sort of like seafaring nomads. And they had kind of settled down there. And so particularly the younger kids, I had to be really careful. I eventually figured out I had to be really careful because they were teaching me Bajau words, not Bahasa. And I thought they were Bahasa words. And then I'd go into town and nobody knew what I was talking about. So yeah. Sounds like I need a doggy gate for my stairs for spare parts. Yes, that probably would be not a bad idea. But so I'll look into that. Let's see, we got some more. Oh, let me clear the pinned messages that I've already addressed. Sorry, we're kind of working out a workflow here behind the scenes. Oops. Okay, cool. Hey, Dabir Engel, I am back. It's good to see you. Well, let's jump into some show and tell here. I have a cornucopia of little things in front of me. I don't have anything huge to show off today, but that will change over time. Let's start with this, because I think this is perhaps the most interesting. This is something that I found on AliExpress while doing some research for a project. And I thought it was so weird that I had to buy it. So this is a 10 SIM card switch for a phone. Whether that be, here, let me let's see if I can focus on it. Here. So each of these are SIM card slots, and then you switch on and off these switches here to activate various switches or various SIM cards. And then the other piece to it is this. So you plug this part in, and this is a PCB. If anybody wants to scan the QR code, it's there. But it's a SIM card PCB or a PCB SIM card. So you plug this end into your phone, into the side of your phone. And it says this is for iPhone 6, 5, 6, 7, 8, and X here below the SIM card. And yeah, it has instructions on the back here, which says, oh, they might be backwards for you. I do have this camera reversed, so it is possible that you're seeing a reversed version. But it says, with terrible English and a lack of spaces, it says, please turn all the switches in the direction off. Only use one SIM card to toggle a switch in the direction of on. So basically only turn on one at a time. And I have been, let me refocus here. I have been wondering what this is for. And I could only think of answers that are doing something that's not totally above board. testing dodgy SIM cards would be one, or like essentially fraud, right? Like if you wanted to create a whole bunch of accounts that were tied to a phone number or a SIM card number, this seems like the perfect option. Yeah, testing multiple carriers, stealing SIM cards. Yep. Yeah. Panama Games says for Pokemon Go spoofing. Yes. I don't know a lot about Pokemon Go. Is it tied to your phone number / SIM card? That would be plausible. It seems rather fragile to have this out, like sticking out of your phone, wandering around in public trying to play Pokemon Go. That seems like an adventure. So I'm a criminal now. Well, I haven't yet used it for criminal purposes, but I can't think of any purpose that would not be criminal that you would want. Well, I won't say criminal, but I will say, because I'm not sure all of the uses are criminal, but dodgy for sure. You could definitely 3D print a cover for it. But the problem is that it's not just the electrical stuff that is the issue. I'm more worried about this snapping off or damaging the SIM card reader in your phone due to the amount of leverage here. So I think you'd have to like build a case for your phone that included this, which seems pretty wild. Yeah. Yes. Sahko's right. I haven't yet used it for criminal purposes. I don't have any strong intentions of using it for criminal purposes, or I don't have any great ideas anyway. Skabrett says, I worked at a carrier for a bit. Would have been handy to have to test multiple SIM cards there. Yeah, I could see that. I could see that for sure. Yeah, using a flex cable for this part, or like a flex rigid where there's a PCB end to stick it in, but then the flex cable allows you to wrap this and like stick this to the back of your phone or your case or whatever. That would be a good idea. The reality is probably, well, I don't know. I mean, I wonder how many people are using this flat on a desk with a phone sitting here, in which case, yeah, I guess a flex cable would still make sense. People are coming up with a lot of good ideas. As a software dev, you could use this when testing 5G networking on IoT devices. That's a good point. Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a lot of like interesting testing uses for this. Let me see if I can find I'll log into AliExpress and see if I can find the listing for it. Let me sign in here. Hang on. Don't know. Let's see if this works. I don't know what account I bought it on. I have 2 AliExpress accounts. Whoa. Let's try this. Oh, maybe I bought it on Amazon. Hang on. Hang on. I'm curious. The reason I want to look this up is I want to see what they advertised it for. I don't think they advertised it for anything when I saw, but when I last looked. But let's see. Hang on. Sorry, I'm having to jump through some hoops. I have had to switch password managers recently due to the I used to use LastPass. They were a sponsor even, and they really screwed the pooch. So they had a major break-in, and yeah, I don't trust them anymore. I've taken the time to switch over to 1Password, and there's a few growing pains still. I like 1Password a lot more, even just UI-wise, but it is still, well, my setup is just a little rough around the edges. For instance, I don't have 1Password installed on all my different browser profiles, which was the issue here. Okay, I'm looking for the listing for this. for the listing. Hang on. Where is it? I bought it a little while ago, so I'm having to dig. Where did I buy it? Hang on. It's here somewhere. Maybe off of eBay? It was one of those things that I just ran across when I was looking for something else. And I sort of just bought it on a whim. Oh, here we go. It was an eBay thing. Okay, wait. So I will pull up the eBay listing. One sec. Oh, come on now. Okay. Hang on. Almost there. Okay, I got it. Just want the listing. Okay, here we go. I got it. So I will paste it in the chat and then. Oh, that's weird. Does it show up under my name? I don't actually know. Oh, well, that works. So let me pull that up. Hang on. This is a little slow. I'm just sort of getting used to using Restream here. Oh, and I have to go through a CAPTCHA. Can anybody hear the dog snoring? He's totally snoring right behind me. All right. Almost there. Almost there. Okay. Here we go. All right. Let's share my screen. This one. All right. Ooh, let's turn off that background. That's a little distracting. Okay, so this is the listing here. And I don't know if it says much about what it's for. So it's small size and easy to carry. It has a good feel and fast control. Yeah, I don't really think it says much about what it's for. Let's see. I think there are some other people selling the same thing. Let's open up some of these. Let's see if they have any details about what one might use this for. Nope. Same text even. Okay. Nope. Ooh, that's a great store name. Rose, Rose, I love you. Yeah, I don't know. There is no information on what the intended use for this is. None of the photos give any hints. Oh, there's a right version and a left version? Oh, no, it's just upside down. Okay. Are there any reviews on these? There are reviews for the seller, but I suspect they sell all sorts of things. Yes, all sorts of things. There aren't item specific, because eBay kind of assumes that listings are one-off. I don't know. Let me check the chat here. I'm sure. I think you're exactly right, Sahko. I do think that not having use cases listed is an indication that there are no above board use cases. But usually, even for the stuff that's kind of dodgy, usually they hint at it. So I don't know. I don't know. Okay. No, it's far more boring. I actually just have a personal AliExpress account and a business AliExpress account. Oh, hey, Nosh. Welcome. Good to see you in here. Yeah, let's give a quick shout out to all the mods helping out with this. So, yeah, I appreciate it. Let's look at the pinned messages here. Let's see. Just do a couple more Q&As here. I am working on health and fitness right now. I've been working for the past like 18 months on my mental health, my brain health from the concussion. But now I'm switching more to body health, trying to lose some weight and get in better shape and sort of continue the things that make my brain work well. And still, minor recovery still from the concussion. Like you can always sort of tune up your brain a little bit, but I'm not really feeling the effects much. But yeah, trying to exercise every day and eat well and all of those other good things. So I've gotten into ice baths recently, which are super interesting. I've been doing ice baths in the morning. It is cold enough here that the water coming out of the tap is between 45 and 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Which is kind of ice bath temperature for most people. So that makes it really convenient. I can just bathtub and hop in. So super interesting in terms of like endorphins, as well as there's some evidence that cold water immersion increases fat burning. Actually causes our white fat cells to convert to brown fat cells. White fat cells are sort of fat storage, and brown fat cells are actually used for thermogenesis. So it's part of what our body uses to keep us warm when we're cold. So I've been experimenting with that. A lot of sort of health experimentation. A lot of various measurement things. I've been getting real geeky. So I bought a glucose / ketone meter, and I've been playing around with that. And I was given a watch that called a Heel Bee. Which actually I should have grabbed. It would have been a good show and tell item, but it claims to be able to measure your calories in and calories out, right? So calories out, I think it's just doing what every other fitness watch is. I've got my Apple Watch sitting here on the charger, and it just uses accelerometer and heart rate and things like that. Calories in is the interesting part, and it claims to be able to measure how many calories your body is absorbing through, and they've been a little fuzzy on the details, but through being able to sense changes in how hydrated you are. So the idea is that and again, they're very low on details, but the idea is that your cells release water as you ingest calories. I've not found it to be particularly accurate, but it's super interesting because it's non-invasive, right? Like you can approximate some of this by looking at glucose by sticking prongs under your skin, which is what continuous blood glucose meters do for diabetics. But this is totally non-invasive. It's just a watch you wear on your wrist, similar to an Apple Watch. It's got galvanic skin response and some sort of light meter camera, and that's it. And then an accelerometer gyro, that kind of stuff. So that's super, super interesting tech. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be very accurate. So I don't know. I eat kind of a weird diet because of the brain injury and because of weight loss. And now I'd be throwing it off. I think it kind of assumes you're eating a very normal diet. So yeah. All right, let's do a few more. Let's let's do a few more questions, and then we'll invite some people up here. Actually, let's go ahead and do that now. Scaverat, if you want to start getting folks going on that, that would be awesome. Yeah, if you want to reach out to the folks that are in the forum and start putting them on deck, that'd be awesome. So if you signed up on the forum, then look for a link from Scaverat. Yeah. Let's see. I'm just checking a few things here. Oh, we've got a bunch of people now. Awesome. Yeah, let's just invite people up here. Nick asks, are you using the mic from your AirPods? No, I've got a on-camera mic that we should be using right now. A Rode Video Pro Plus sitting in front of me, at least as far as I know. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a way to check audio sources while I am live, which is dumb. But maybe there is. Oh, no, there is. Yeah, no, I'm using the Rode mic. So, yeah. Did I hear about PayPal? Something like 30K users. No, was there a breach on PayPal? Yeah, no, I've been mostly following the LastPass stuff, which at first I thought, oh, this isn't a big deal. And then I read about their really negligent choices around encryption. So this is actually worth mentioning. If anybody is using LastPass, you need to go check your encryption iterations. And maybe we can post a link about how to do that. Let me see if I can look one up. Or if somebody wants to post it in the chat, that'd be awesome. But basically, they were using an encryption algorithm for encrypting your password vault, right? Or encrypting just the passwords in your password vault using your master passphrase, right? Which, in theory, they didn't have access to your master passphrase. It was just, it was never stored on their end. I have some doubts that maybe they screwed that up too, but I'm assuming for now that was not the case. But an attacker broke in and got a hold of all of the encrypted password vaults. And the encryption algorithm they were using, which is an acronym that I can't repeat, but it has a P and a K and a B in it. When they first started, they were just running it once to encrypt. And that maybe was enough at the time, given current sort of CPU capacity. But over the years, CPUs and particularly GPUs have gotten a lot faster. And so the time it takes to try a random password has gotten shorter and shorter, right? You can run more and more attempts per second, particularly on modern GPUs. And so they were supposed to be increasing that number of iterations over time. And they were, but sort of reluctantly, not at the rate they should have been, right? They didn't go back and migrate old users. So there are users today that still have iterations of 1. The recommendation right now is 300,000. To give you some sense of scale. So they did 1, and then 500, and then 5,000, and then 100,000. And the current recommendation is 300,000. It might have just gone up in response to this LastPass breach. And so the idea that, the vault was always encrypted, and even though they got a hold of the encrypted vault, they can't do anything with it, is not true for some users, particularly early adopters of LastPass. What they should have done is asked people to upgrade their vault security over time, or just done it automatically the next time someone logged in. And they screwed the pooch on it. So what you need to do is go in, and if you've been a LastPass user at any point in time, you need to go and check how many iterations your LastPass is or was set to. If it's anything less than 100,000, then you should migrate off of LastPass regardless, because it's very clear that their approach to security is incredibly lackadaisical and lacking. Not just because of this, but because they've had 7 major breaches over the past 10 years, which I was not aware of. But also, if your iterations is set to anything less than 100,000, you need to change all of the passwords that were in your vault. That were in your vault at any point in time. So I have been doing that over the past few days. I've got most of the major ones fixed, but it's a process. It's a real pain in the neck. So I've switched to 1Password. I've done that, based on the fact that it's a commercial product and has a lot of support. I've thought about doing something that's open source and gets regular audits. I think there are good open source solutions, but I don't think they're quite as featureful as 1Password. And so for me, it's a balance of usability and security, right? Rather than being all the way at the security end. So give me one sec here. I need to give Scaverat access to the form. Thought you had it, but you should have it, Scaverat. It's the link in the mods chat on Discord, though. I think it's this. That should work. But otherwise, I'll also add you. Sorry, guys, it's a little rough around the edges here. Okay. I also added you directly, Scaverat. Hey, Holden, welcome to the stream. Thank you for joining. Yeah, I thought I liked the LastPass UI, and the reality is that it's gotten incredibly buggy recently, and 2, I didn't realize how much better a UI could be until I switched to 1Password. So not a sponsored message. I'm not sure I'll ever take sponsorship from something this core and security related again. I feel very burned as someone who did a sponsorship with LastPass. To be fair, I used LastPass for a long time before they sponsored me. So I genuinely thought it was a good product at the time. But the reality is it wasn't. Hey, bud. But yeah, it sucks to have told a bunch of people to go sign up for a thing that actually was being really lackadaisical about security, where the core feature of the product was security. That just really sucks. So if you were one of those people, I'm sorry. I screwed up. Should have done a lot more homework. I think I'm getting a lap dog here. Are you coming up? Is that what's happening? Do I have a choice in the matter? I'm not sure. I do. Oh. This is Ambrose, for anybody who's not met him. And he is about 75 pounds. And when I am sitting in this chair in particular and streaming, he's decided that he's small enough to fit in my lap, which is kind of true, but also kind of not true. That's interesting, Octagon Cake. Also, hi, great to see you here. I don't quite know what you mean by add icon from clipboard. It does seem to be adding icons for sites, like it seems to be adding the fave icon. So maybe there was a cooler thing that I don't know about. Yeah, oops, that was not what I meant to show. Misclick. Yes, the chair is holding up to both of us. Some of us are getting lighter. Some of us might be getting heavier due to forest turkey. It's funny. I thought when we left the res that forest turkey and forest pizza were a thing of the past. It's all rural communities. For a while, the neighbor had like a roommate that was throwing trash off her balcony. And he was going over to eat that. And I don't know what, he's still finding something to eat over there, kind of down the slope from them. And I don't know what it is. And I'm sure it's really disgusting. Yeah, you're probably eating poop or something. I don't know what. All right. Let's go ahead and jump into some show and tell here. Oh, sweet. Speaking of which, I think we have our first person ready to go. Sahko, are you ready to join here? Give me a thumbs up if you are. I'm just going to assume, well, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't assume yes. Give me a big thumbs up. It's a small image. Yes. Okay. I see a thumbs up. Okay. We're going to have Sahko/Alex join here, and he's got a couple things to show off. Welcome to the stream.
All right, cool. I've managed to figure out which one to mute, otherwise I'd be doubling over and
perfect
myself.
Yes,
slowly going back in time.
Awesome. You have a pretty cool looking workspace there.
You'd be surprised how annoying this is. It's like you turn around and my feet will bash into anything and everything.
I know the feeling.
I'm afraid to move, otherwise I'll knock something over again.
Is this your home workspace?
Yes, I'm at home, and
nice.
This is my bed up top.
Oh, nice. Awesome.
I ended up moving over the summer and then moving back here. So all the crap I accumulated over a 6-month internship, I then had to bring back and bring into here.
Nice.
And I'm still moving in, even though it happened back in September.
Nice. Awesome. Well, what do you have to show us?
Besides the compulsive hoarding?
Yes.
A project I was working on for a while, but kind of got shafted because of eBay, was trying to turn, because I'm a left-handed plebeian, I use a left-handed mouse.
Got it.
Which is this Razer mouse that only comes wired, and for whatever reason is only ever advertised to disabled people, even though there are just left-handed people in existence. And so the plan is
I wouldn't really categorize being left-handed as a disability.
Well, apparently Razer does, so
I guess it's technically differently abled from the norm, but I'm not sure it really categorizes as a disability.
But either way, because I tried initially to figure out, okay, right, there's bound to be a way to do wireless USB. Yep. It's just USB over 2.4 gig. It doesn't exist. There's no chip made by anyone that is just like USB over wireless. So the next step was like, okay, great. So now I just have to find a wireless identical mouse.
Yeah.
That I can just transplant into this. And obviously, Razer's made 1,000 of these. These are the Razer Naga mice, which have the 12 button sides.
Is that the same mouse but a wireless version in a right-handed?
Yes, because they don't make the left-handed one wireless.
Right. Because it's only for disabled people.
So if you look at it, it's kind of trippy to look at sometimes, but they actually are just... Because this is all mirrored. For me, this is on my right.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, they're identical.
So they're just exact mirrors of each other.
These ones are, but not the first one I bought. So I was like, okay, right, I'm not going to buy a new wireless mouse. These are like 150 quid, 150 bucks, euro, whatever. So they're very expensive. It's not a cheap mouse, and this was 120. So whatever I do to this, I hope I can reverse if I fuck it up. But the main thing was that, like, I'll get one used or refurbished.
Sure.
So I went on eBay, found a guy in Germany that was selling what is supposedly this mouse that I'm holding in a wireless version. The photo had the wireless stand, had everything. It was great. And as it turns out, it was one of those sellers that was basically just a Amazon mystery box distributor
Yep.
that would break down a pallet of returns and then send them out, which didn't matter because it was a refurbished thing I was looking for anyway. But it was wired when it arrived. There's a big crack down the side of it, and one of the buttons was smashed. And I was a ragey gamer, but I have no idea how someone can do that to a mouse.
That's amazing.
And at the time, I didn't have as much money as I do now for projects to work on. This was all the same, but it's just I'm a student, so my income is basically zero. Yeah. Whatever money I have just kind of appears out of nowhere through eBay or whatever. It's like, God damn it! Now I have got this paperweight that I can't do anything with. So I ended up finding a cheap mouse I got from Lidl, which is effectively like a micro Walmart, but in Europe.
Okay.
And years ago, a friend of mine got me a gaming mouse that was €10 or whatever. But the clone cheap Chinese switches it had were exactly the same as the Omron good ones as the Razer mice had. Put that in there, and then just flip the mouse. I've had no complaints because it worked.
That's amazing. So completely different mouse manufacturer.
Because it's just a switch. Because the way the switches are, they're just micro switches.
Yeah.
And
so you do all the various like function key programmable switches on the side work, or just the main?
Well, everything else is fine. Well, I'm talking about the refurbished wired mouse that I got. It was broken.
Oh, I see. Right. Okay.
So I repaired it and then sold it on. It's like, I've got that money now, but that money's already gone, spent on whatever else it had to be spent on.
So you couldn't return it when you bought it on eBay, and you couldn't.
I made the mistake of not using PayPal because the mouse was as described. Because the actual name of the mice, it's all Razer Naga something, or just Razer Naga.
Yeah.
It never stated it was wireless. The photo that it showed,
I would say not as described if the photo isn't.
It was the kind of like a white background pulled from the website type thing.
Yeah.
Right. So that was the end of that story about a year ago. And then I started looking back into it, and then I found that because this mouse was actually first designed in 2013, and then they discontinued it. But because of the popular demand, they brought them back in 2020. And a friend of mine told me about it. I was like, yeah, I'm getting that. So I've had this wired one for a while. So I was like, maybe the mouse I'm trying to find is older than that.
Yeah.
So I ended up finding one that is from 2011 or something like that. It is a mirror image of the thing. So
give me
the next
one sec, Alex. Let me do something with the dog. Hang on. Ambrose, come here. Come here.
Just I too much understand the pain of having a dog that barks constantly.
Very loud up here. I just need something to preoccupy him. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I know too much the pain of a constantly barking dog.
Yeah. He's normally good.
What I was saying was I basically have to now get to take all the parts from this. I've reverse engineered the mouse already.
Yep.
And now I have to just rebuild a PCB that would fit into the other mouse. Because they're different PCBs.
Oh,
everything else
PCBs.
Of course they are, because like the shape is different, so it has to be flipped over. And because it's a technically newer mouse, it's got a different sensor, it's got different everything. So I'm basically pulling the parts from this and making a new mouse that will go into this one, which does mean it's easily reversible.
Right.
But I decided I'm too financially stupid to stop right there. Logitech make these scroll wheels where you can press a button and the scroll wheel just spins freely.
Yes, I have a Logitech G502 Hero that does that.
Here's the one I bought earlier. I only paid €20 for this. It was a lot less than I paid for this other one. And it was used, and it was also broken. But this is all fine. And I ended up extracting the scroll from that. I thought, okay, I'm not going to stop at making it wireless. I'm going to add the scroll wheel onto it. Which will be another issue because the Razer one is mechanical, kind of a mechanical encoder.
Yeah.
This is it's on the floor now, but it's optical.
Yep.
So I have to figure out how to interface that to what the other mouse expects. But that's for work after hours, my college hours.
Yep.
Which is what the other project I mentioned was actually on. It was designing a very high precision voltmeter.
Yes.
Because
Well, hang on with that, because I've got a project that if I can find it, I want to piggyback on your. I have a similar project of passion to you.
Is it designing a multimeter?
No, similar to your mouse saga, because that really sounds like you're a man on a mission. You know,
I'm a man.
You've been working on this a couple of years now.
I've kind of collectively been working on it for about 3 hours.
On the
of work I have. Of solid work I have put into it, about 3 hours. If you exclude the travel time to get shit.
In clock time, when did you start down this path?
My idea for it came about a year ago.
Okay.
Sometime February, March of last year.
Yeah.
And then it just because of the debacle with the German seller, it just ended right there.
Right. Yeah.
And then I only picked this back up 2 weeks ago when I found this mouse.
Nice. Well, I have a similar mission, which is that I am a devotee of the
ancient keyboards.
The old Microsoft Natural Keyboard. And it's in pieces right now, but it is in pieces because if I can put it back together enough that you can see.
It's like a discontinued Lego Technics set.
Yes. So this keyboard is so old that it doesn't have USB. It has PS2.
Right.
The interface. And this was the first non-standard keyboard that I ever used back when I was probably in high school. So originally the keyboard looked like this. Let's see if I can hold this up with the camera. These are not being made anymore.
I hope not.
So, might have to stand up.
They might as well be made of Bakelite at this point.
Yeah, and you can tell from the yellowing on here. So they looked roughly like this.
Is that supposed to be a number pad on the side?
Right. It had a number pad over here, but I don't need a number pad, and it puts the mouse further away. Right. So you end up having to pivot your wrist out. I don't know where.
I don't because I use my mouse in my left hand, so my number pad's on the right.
As a right-hander, it's a problem, and it creates a bunch of ergonomic issues. And so I want to make a version of this that doesn't have a number pad, and so I am. Something's clicking here.
You're surprised how far a bandsaw can go.
Yes, exactly. So I have taken a hacksaw and various things, and then when I did when we did the slot machine ATM project, my friend Matt, that collaborated with me on that, showed me that you can essentially sculpt ABS using acetone. You basically dissolve acetone in ABS, and you can glue bits of it together, and then you can create like a putty and fill in spots, and then you sand it down and can create things that look like they were injection molded, but you can modify them to suit your own. So I have various pieces of the bezel that went, that was out here, right? So this is the top bezel, and this was over here for the numpad. And what I'm going to do is move it in here, glue it back together with acetone, and wire everything back up. So similar but different mission to what you've been embarking on.
Just the sculpting ABS with acetone part is the part I'm worried about.
Yeah, it's surprisingly effective. It takes patience.
Effective it is. There's a lot of things that are effective, like painting a wall with a hand grenade is effective.
Thank you, Scave Rat. Feel free to jump in and switch camera views if I screw that up again. But just for everybody that missed it because it wasn't big on screen, here is what the keyboard looked like originally.
Will the keyboard be happy with having those keys missing, though?
I think it will be fine because, so what underlies all this are these crazy pieces of plastic. It's 3 layers.
Yeah, the membrane.
They used conductive ink for the traces, and then the circles are pads. And they basically had one layer that had no traces on it that serves to separate the other 2 membrane layers, like this. And with pressure, they create contact. And then there were these rubber membrane things that add the sort of, they're the spring, right? So, serious mechanical keyboard aficionados are going to turn up their noses at this. But like I said, I have a soft spot in my heart for these keyboards, as do a few people out there. I worked with a woman at the last startup I worked at who hoarded these keyboards. She has like 10 sitting in a storage unit because they're the keyboard she loves the most, and she knows.
My worry is just about the way the keyboard might be wired. It might cause it might just have a loop back to come back.
Yep. Yeah, so I might have to put in some bodge wires or something on it.
Yeah, like if you cut off the number pad, you might just cut off the bottom row of
That's
keys.
A good point. I haven't looked into it at that level, but I think that'll be easy to fix if it is an issue. I'll just need to create a bodge wire to get continuity back there. All right, tell us about your precision multimeter, or precision voltmeter.
Well, today I was specifically working on, basically all day I was working on the display because I need something to show off. And this is for my final year in university project.
Nice.
And so far I've gotten about this far with the display.
So give us the background on it. I know you're creating a voltmeter, but give us the high level.
The high level is I have nothing better to do for a final year project, and they said I can suggest whatever I want. I'm a bit of a vault nut, if you know what that means. So
no,
it's kind of like a community within electronics that's very interested in precision and metrology, and it's like you've got the cutting edge, but this is the sharpening stone for that cutting edge. That's what people are interested in. And I remember telling that to one of the kind of higher up, not executives, but higher up engineers at Analog Devices. He's like, I'm going to use that in everything now. Just that phrase. And
it's a great analogy.
But yeah, if I can, there it is. I've got my little box of treasures here, which is in this tiny box. There might be nigh on $5-6 grand worth of hardware. So, like, have you ever seen a €300 resistor?
No.
Well, there you go. Let's
get a close up on that.
There's there. You notice it has 4 wires. If my thing can focus at that distance.
Yeah. The resolution isn't great.
I set it to 720 from the default 480.
It's a
webcam, so
yeah. I think it's more the compression.
Yeah. Either way, it's a very expensive resistor that's usually used in like resistance standards.
Okay.
And if you see, it actually has 4 wires.
Yep.
Doesn't have 2.
So it's a like a cylinder with 2 wires coming out each side.
Yes, there's one on there's two wires on each side.
Okay.
Now I've got 2 of these. My other one is MIA somewhere.
Okay.
Bin probably.
That's an expensive resistor to lose.
But yeah, so that's the kind of stuff the Volt nuts are interested in. Not just Volts, obviously, but they're nutty about engineering.
Yes.
And the forefront of engineering is trying to measure things effectively. That's what everything is. It's taking a measurement and doing something with it.
Sure.
Just to some extent.
I think you can squint and look at things through that lens.
But everything eventually boils down to that. That's what it does. So why not? You're talking on the phone. There's a microphone to pick that up. There's a ADC to digitize it. There's an RF antenna to send that up to a tower somewhere.
Yep.
It all boils down to that.
I'll buy it. I'm sure there are maybe some edge cases that would be harder to argue that with.
Switching a light on, for example, maybe.
Sure. Yep.
But then what are you doing?
Was thinking
you're sensing your button press.
mechatronics, right? Like, yes, there is sensors and measurement, but there's a lot of like open loop stuff there too, right? That's less about that.
How are you driving that open loop?
That's true.
Back.
That's
there
fair.
you are. Everything boils down to screwing around until something works.
That's fair.
But basically, so that's the pretext. Basically, I'm nutty about engineering, that specific field of engineering, and then they come to us in universities like, oh, you can pick whatever you want. Now, you obviously get a list of what the professor wants you to do,
right?
Or you can go out and find a professor that can just they will take your project. So I proposed designing an analog to digital converter that can go up to 8.5 digits. Now, your normal multimeter, like your crappy dollar store one, would go 3.5 digits, for example, or 4.5 maybe. The meter's Keysight might have sent you, or you might have bought from Keysight. I doubt they would have sent you anything that goes beyond 6.5.
Yep. I don't know what mine are, but they're not really high precision stuff.
At the highest end, they would have sent you some at 7.5, maybe.
Yep.
But if it's 7.5, it'd actually be written on the box. If it's not, it'd be 6.5.
Right.
When you get to 8.5, that's when you start getting into like thermoelectric effects. Like, you know how a thermocouple works? It's two metals touching each other, temperature difference causes a voltage. If you're trying to measure very precisely, that's already an issue.
Yeah. And it's a very small voltage, right? It's like microvolts. Yeah. Okay.
But if you're trying to measure 10 volts with the precision of 1 microvolt, and literally a gust of wind can change your measurement. That's the kind of level you're working at. And I was doing a talk during my internship just about this, and I phrased it like in the way that at 8.5 digits, you can measure the distance to the moon and back in 3 meters resolution.
Wow.
And back. So if you just want to go to the moon, that's less than my height, and I'm not tall.
That's crazy.
That's how precise this is. So I was like, okay, right, I want to do this, and I want to make it modern and up-to-date. Keysight's version of that, the 3458A, if anyone wants to Google foo, the multimeter, new, they cost $16,000.
And what's the accuracy for that?
That's 8.5 digits.
8.5. And is 8.5 like the best you can get commercially on the market?
Physics does not allow you to go further.
Oh, okay.
At this point, it's basically just try and do it as compactly and cheaply as possible.
Got it. Yep.
If you were to guess a year, when do you think this basically limits of physics multimeter was designed? When do you think it was designed?
So I have to disclose that I was literally a week ago hanging out with Daniel Bogdanoff at Keysight in Colorado Springs, and this is one of the things that came up.
Right.
Because
did he mention the year?
I can get the right decade, but the reason it came up is he said that they haven't changed the design of this thing in decades. I'm going to guess 70s, either 70s or early 80s.
It probably began work in the 70s. I don't think it would have been. I think it would have been, but the meter was released under HP at the time, Hewlett Packard.
Yep. Right.
Which is what Keysight eventually became through Agilent and whatever else.
Right.
There's 3 companies that this one product has been through.
Yes.
It was released in It was released in 1989.
Yeah. Okay.
And to this day is the gold standard in all metrology labs.
Yep.
Nothing Fluke has made is caught up. Nothing Keithley have made is caught up. Nothing anyone has made is caught up.
That's amazing.
And one of my friends, whose name I'm not going to mention because he probably doesn't want me to, has reverse engineered the what you call it, the analog to digital converter, which is this custom HP chip in a ceramic package. It's to this day it looks like something from the 70s, because it would have been using technology that was available in the 70s, just from how it was made. But basically, the most recent kind of 8.5 digit meter that was released in the 90s by Keithley, and it's this box about basically the same size as this one.
Yep.
But instead of it's the Keithley 2002. So okay, right. So if nothing has been changed in 30 odd years, Is it because there's no reason to, or is it because there's no changes that can be made?
Right.
A better way of phrasing that is there any incentive to change it, or is there any way to change it?
Right. Yeah. Is it there's no incentive to make it better, or it's not possible to make it better?
Yeah, like if the best one in the world has been around for 40 years, why even try make a better one?
Right.
Because at this point, the only thing you can do is make it smaller.
Right.
Because if you have a solid 3458A, it's like it's that long, and it's 19-inch rack unit. It's massive.
Yeah. I forget what he was saying. I forget the specifics, but he was talking about there was some sort of manufacturing issue where they haven't changed how this thing has been made since '89, and so I'm trying to remember what it was. It was like a supply chain issue or something. I wish Daniel was here.
Because you're using parts from the 80s.
Right, correct. Correct.
Who the hell there are obviously still parts from the 80s that are being manufactured regularly. Yep. Chief of which is a part called the LTZ 1000, which it's a voltage reference. It is literally the world's most expensive is like Zener diode.
Yep. Okay.
But it was designed in the 80s by Linear Technologies and is so precise and so venerable that it's in use to this day. And I've got 6 of them in here. That's what these little cans are.
Amazing.
And now that Analog Devices owns LT, now they're releasing potential competitors or to their own products, realistically, but potential upgrades, which I know for a fact Keysight have samples of at the moment of versions that are not publicly released, which I have the datasheet for, but I can't share that for various contract reasons. It's really cool though. I can't wait till awesome. I can get a sample. Once I can get a sample.
We've got some questions from the chat for you. SnackZA asks, why do you need readings that are this accurate, other than just sort of engineering showmanship? Why would you spend $16,000 on a Keysight meter that can measure 8.5 digits?
If what you're measuring costs a customer $100,000, you better hope that those readings are true.
Yep.
And so that's where kind of the field of metrology comes from. Like you look at any of the Veritasium videos about like weights and measuring all that stuff precisely, time.
Sure.
There is a reason it eventually boils down to, but stuff like voltage, it's not as easy to boil down to. Well, because with time, it's financial maths.
Yep.
You need to know that someone bought something before somebody else did. Otherwise, It's unfair. With voltage, it gets kind of this weird gray area of why. CERN uses very high precision meters using integrated ADCs or whatever. And it's because of dynamic range.
Okay.
If you need to measure a signal that's 5-6 microvolts plus minus a couple microvolts, you can do that with anything, realistically. You might need to amplify it, but that's about as far as you need to go.
Sure.
But if that signal can go from 2 microvolts to 20 volts, you can do auto ranging and stuff. But then you lose the resolution of what's happening beyond that. Now, in my case, I like doing this kind of stuff because I'm a nutter, basically.
Sure. But what would be like a commercial or industrial application where it makes sense to go out and buy, a $16,000 voltmeter?
Semiconductor design.
Okay. So what would be the application within semiconductor design? Verification? Verification
mainly. Verification of design and stuff like that. That's what we always use them in ADI for. Is like you'd have someone with a bench of them.
Yep.
And so someone would be writing the date. Like someone has to write the data sheets. They don't just get auto-generated. The numbers in them have to come from somewhere.
And you want to be really accurate.
Yes.
Because
generally you can use. Yeah, generally you can use cheaper meters, but those meters have to be calibrated.
Yeah.
Which you can't calibrate it something like like a Keithley 2000, which is just a 6.5 digit meter. It's a general use one with another one.
Right.
Because
yes.
you're losing that accuracy.
Yeah. You need something even more accurate to calibrate with.
So yeah. So the 3458A is so precise that it is used as what's called a transfer standard. So every 6 or 12 months, a company would have their 3458A standard, and they would send it off to Loveland or somewhere NIST or UCAS in the UK, or even to Keysight directly, to the Philippines, wherever. It'll be sent off to a standards lab, and it'll come back, and then you will use that one meter to make sure that the rest of your meters are correct.
Got it. So this would be like getting standard weights for calibrating your super precise scale that were, one-off standards, right? Where you're, these weights were calibrated against one of the master standards.
Yeah, but in this case, it's more like getting a scale that was tested against like K2 and stuff like that, like the primary standards.
Right.
Because it's just at that point where it's like the thing that you can use to transport whatever.
Got it.
It's about accuracy. It's about knowing that what you're doing is correct.
Yeah. I think I have an example within Keysight where they were using these. I'm not sure. But one of the areas that we saw, I got a tour of some of the manufacturing facilities at Keysight in
give me Daniel's number. I might want to tours.
Yes. Well, we can talk about that offline. It was fascinating. I will tell you, I've been to my fair share of factories at this point. 75% of the equipment they had in this, I almost want to call it a lab rather than a factory. It was very large, but it very much had a lab feel. 75% of the equipment I had never heard of before, let alone seen in person. Just crazy stuff. But one of the areas that we saw was where they build probes. So probes, for things like oscilloscopes. And we're talking about very high-end probes, probes that cost thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars. And the precision that goes into building these probes, they were worried about things like how much were the cable on the probe getting bent while they were moving from station to station. So they had like large diameter hooks to hang these from so that they stayed straight and they didn't go over a certain bend radius, because that changed the properties of the probe. And some of the stations these probes were going through were testing stations, right? And so they had, I wasn't looking super closely at the test equipment that was sitting on the bench, but they had, some pretty high-end test gear at these testing stations. And I wonder if some of them were really high-end voltmeters to measure voltage drop across these meters. I know they were doing things like, VNA and things like that too. And I'm not an RF guy, so I'm not sure I can speak to it at a
thing
high
you
level.
might have been looking at would have been what's called, you've got your VNA, the vector network analyzer, which basically just, you plug something in and it tells you what is happening between 2 points. So the start and the end of the cable. And you said 20 grand for the oscilloscope cable. That's on the low end of what Keysight does.
Yes, and we saw some higher end stuff that were more modules that fit into something. And we're talking everything is gold plated and, crazy, like, hand placed components and wire bonding and all sorts of crazy stuff.
Yeah, at some point, the gold plating between connectors is not a feature; it's a necessity.
Yes, right.
Because if like a tiny bit of oxide forms, and that's right, your 100 grand oscilloscope is e-waste.
Yep.
But the thing you might have seen and interpreted as a voltmeter would have been an S parameter analyzer. Which is a slightly different way of measuring the characteristics of a cable.
Yep.
But that doesn't just go for 20 grand, like oscilloscope probes and RF cables. You'd need an S parameter analyzer for a HDMI cable.
Yep.
For designing the HDMI standard, because just the data rates at in this day and age is just insane.
Yeah. 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 It was nuts. I mean, they were using lasers to strip the wires inside the cable, the individual conductors inside the cable, because mechanically stripping them introduced too much variability. And so they had machines that had a laser coming from top and bottom that vaporized the thin insulation off the conductors. It was nuts.
The precision that the actual wire has to be made to is just insane because like the thinner you make a wire, the higher frequency you can carry.
Sure.
But inversely, you also have losses at different frequencies. It's just there is
and they were looking at all the losses across. They were doing frequency sweeps across. I forget. I wish I remembered it. I saw so much that was new to me that in 4 hours that I didn't absorb 100% of it.
There is a YouTuber.
Daniel and I are still talking, but I think we're going to do a factory tour there. So don't hold me to it. But
it's going to be the blurriest factory tour ever made.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I think they might be more open than you think.
It depends on what rooms they let you in.
I got to see a lot. Obviously, I didn't get to see R&D, right? But I got to see sort of kind of the production facilities.
So for stuff like that, they'd be happy to show you anything.
Yeah,
but there's a YouTuber called The Signal Path, who is, I don't know where he gets the money for it, but he's got basically everything Keysight, Tektronix, anyone has ever made.
Yeah.
And so he has a good video about why bending cables certain ways can cause issues, and he's just about how a cable matters.
Yeah, I was blown away. I didn't really think much about probe cables prior to this. I've got Daniel gave me a relatively low end oscilloscope that they make.
Come on! Don't put them down like that.
Well, I saw $1 million oscilloscope when I was there.
Oh yeah,
this is not $1 million oscilloscope.
The Signal Path has torn down that scope.
Yeah, I didn't get to see inside it, but it was. I mean, it was.
There are videos of inside of it. It is
big. It's wild. I did get to see some things that go in like an oscilloscope that big. But this one's a relatively entry level scope, and I don't think much about how I treat those probes, or I didn't, and now I'm gonna think a lot more closely about it. Well, this Alex, this is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing this. This is a wild dive into sort of electrical metrology that I, certainly prior to a week ago didn't think a lot about. So this is awesome. Please keep us up to date on your progress on the voltmeter here. I'm excited to see how that goes.
Yeah, when I was talking about the LCD, what I showed here isn't a good thing.
Right.
That's supposed to be displaying something, and it's not.
Yeah, got it. I have been down that road. They are frustrating to get working.
But I think this is like a €40 LCD that I've managed to fry. So
that's unfortunate.
So I have to now wait 2 weeks or 3 weeks or however long it takes to ship.
I know that situation well. Well, thanks again for showing off both of these projects. They're awesome, and I look forward to hearing. Yeah, absolutely, and I look forward to hearing updates on either here or on Discord. So if anybody is
them on Discord,
awesome. If anybody here is listening and not on Discord, please come join us. Sahko is one of our regulars on Discord and is always showing off cool stuff, particularly around measurement. So please come hang out with us. I'm gonna move on to other things here, Sahko. Thanks again, and have a good evening.
You too. Well, I'll still be watching, so I'll still be around.
Okay, excellent. What else? I'm gonna take you off stage here. Well, that was awesome. Yeah, that is a whole different kind of geeky. It's wonderful to see people like Alex that are passionate about very niche topics. That's one of the things I just love. Scabrat, let's go ahead and get somebody else on deck here. Somehow in the process of showing things off, my keyboard has stopped working. I was trying to type it to you in chat, but somehow I'm just getting ticks out of the keyboard. I don't know what I have done wrong. But yeah, let's get somebody else here up on deck to come on stage here. Let's see, sorry. Don't know. Guess I'll try unpairing and repairing. Whoop. That did not do what I wanted. All right, we do have somebody else on deck now. Hang on, I gotta get my keyboard back here. Connect. managed to turn off Bluetooth entirely instead of just unpairing and repairing my keyboard. Don't think it's out of batteries. All right, we've got Tops. I see you. I see you're working on your camera. We'll have you up next here. I hate Windows. Hang on. Oh, I can't type right. Of course. Connect. Find other types of devices. Looks like the dog has finally calmed down, knock on wood. No, I don't want to remove. Huh. Well, maybe I'll remove and repair it. Hang on. Really should just get a wired keyboard. Of all things, I'm using a Apple wireless keyboard with my PC here. Oh, I can't even remove it. What the heck? Can I add it again? Let's try this. Here we go. Connect. Nope. I'm keyboardless. That's very silly. I don't use, someone asked, why don't you use Linux? And Sean asks, why don't you use Linux? Because, so I do use Linux, but I don't use it on my desktop. I would say for two reasons. The main reason, before I even started messing with video, was I don't like having to be a sysadmin for my main workstations. If it was up to me, I would be on Mac entirely for that reason. It's a nice balance between being a decent development environment and not having to play sysadmin all the time. And the reality is, like, with a Linux desktop, it's gotten a lot better over the years, and it is still quite easy to break it in ways that take a long time to fix. The new reason, now that I'm doing video stuff over the past 5 years, is that I rely on Adobe Premiere, and that is either Windows or Mac, not Linux. So anyway, let's bring Tops up here, and I have no idea what you're showing off, so it's going to be a surprise.
Hey, how's it going?
Can we hear you?
Hello?
I don't hear you, but I think it's on my end. Hang on. I bet everybody else can hear you. I think I should be able to hear you now. Give me 1 sec. All right, you there?
Hi.
Yes, I can hear you now. Okay.
Awesome. Okay. Hi, Scotty.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Welcome to the stream.
All right. So this is the lab, as my brother and I call it. It's our Pokémon Sanctuary, if you will.
Nice.
Where we do some pretty insane Pokemon stuff. So I'm going to switch cameras, and I'll show you guys.
Great.
So,
oh my God.
This is the lab. So it's 16 GameCubes, all wired up with individual HDMI adapters, wired into what is called a multi-viewer, which takes 16 HDMI inputs and outputs it as a single HDMI. So,
you're breaking up on us here.
TV.
Your audio's breaking up.
Audio's breaking up. No.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I can sort of hear you. Try now. It might be better now.
I'm gonna resolution.
Okay. Cool. Let's see if that works. Yeah, it's just sort of choppy here.
Oh.
Yes. Let's try that.
All right. Is this a little bit better?
Yeah, it's understandable now. Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So I'll start back over. So yeah, 16 game cubes.
Yep.
They're all plugged into a massive collection of HDMI adapters.
Oh my god. Right, because it's all composite.
Yeah. So every GameCube is composite, so they have to be run into HDMI adapters.
Right.
And then they're run into what is called a multi-viewer, which takes 16 HDMI inputs and outputs it as a single HDMI output.
Okay.
And then they're all run into a single computer with a capture card.
That's amazing.
So you can play 16 Pokemon games at the same time.
Okay. So why would one on a... Yes.
The reason why we do this, so shiny Pokemon are very rare, right? But it's a numbers game. So the more consoles you're running, the more encounters you will see, the more Pokemon you will see. And therefore, the amount of time you have to spend to find a shiny is reduced if you're playing 16 games at once, right?
Got it.
But what's really cool about these adapters in the GameCube specifically, as you can see, the LEDs are lighting up.
Yep.
It's all from one controller. So the Wavebird uses radio frequencies instead of like a Bluetooth connection. So it's just a receiver all set to the same channel.
Got it.
Yes.
So you're giving the same input to all of the games?
Same input to all of the games. So you can do that with the GameCubes because it's a GameCube controller. You can do that with Nintendo Switches because they have the GameCube to Nintendo Switch controller adapters. And you can do it with Nintendo Wii's.
That's amazing. So can you, I mean, are all of the games doing the same thing at the same time? Like how does giving the same input to 16 different games that are all running independently work?
So the way that it works, if I just sync up all the controllers.
This is amazing.
Yeah, so as long as you're starting from a relatively similar place in time on each game.
Right.
Here, let me switch back. Yeah, as long as you're starting from relatively the same spot in each game, what will happen it's quite simple. If you run back and forth, eventually all of the games will find an encounter.
Amazing.
Yeah. So
and then I've never played Pokemon, but then the encounter sort of gameplay is similar.
Yeah. So since each game, this is Generation 3, so Fire Red and Leaf Green. Since each game, the mechanics are the same. Yeah. As long as you get into an encounter and are able to leave the same encounter, that encounter, none of the games will get out of sync, and then you'll be able to do it again. But yeah, and then there's a bunch of other weird knickknacks that we've collected along the way of getting to this point.
Yeah.
So these right here are called Vistion dockable entertainment systems. So they're DVD players.
Right.
But they have GameCubes built into them. And the controller uses IR. So you can control all three of them with one controller.
Amazing.
Yeah. And then we got a couple other weird stuff, like that green Wii there is a development Wii used for game development.
And so how is it different from a normal Wii?
They use what are called NR discs. So this green GameCube here is called an NR reader, and they use a different kind of disc. Actually, I can grab one. So it's this. So it's a GameCube NR. Oh, I think the webcam is backwards or flipped, but it's a different kind of disc where it's only writable one time, and it doesn't have. It's not burnt to the serial code that is needed prior to the game launching in order for the game to run on a regular console. So it was just quicker to burn the discs one time, test it, throw it away, kind of thing.
Oh my god! Okay.
And then and then we got a couple other.
So the development GameCube allows you to read these development discs, these burnt discs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Whereas you can't read a burnt disc on a production GameCube. Or a
exactly.
GameCube.
Yeah.
Got it.
And then, we've just collected a bunch of other things like games and rare cards and all kinds, like demo cartridges. So these here are demo versions of each of the 3 Generation 2 games.
And so how are those different than the normal version of those games?
Exactly the same.
Okay.
The only difference is that it has that not for resale because they were meant to be sent to stores and then sent back kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah. And they were to sit in like an end cap or something to let people play the game walking by in the store.
Exactly. Okay. And then we've got some. I don't know if you're aware. I guess it was like 10 years ago now. GameStop would run events that you would have to like go into the store in order to get them.
Yeah.
So these here are some of the distribution cartridges that they use at the stores. So
amazing. That's awesome. So SnackZA asks, what do you do when you get a shiny on one of these 16 games that you're running?
Yeah, for sure. Honestly, not much.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Once you get it, I think that's the end target or end goal. So, what my older brother is doing, because we kind of did this together, was play through the original Generation 3 games, finding every wild Pokemon that is available as a shiny. So, he's been doing that for 2 years, and this is about as far as we've gotten. So, maybe a quarter of the way. So not very far. Yeah, it takes a very long time. Yeah,
I was kind of wondering because I was like, this seems like a pretty OP setup here. Like, surely you must have done everything that's possible.
No, not even close. Which is like the both amazing part and terrifying part is like there's so much still left to do. And then we've got some like random memorabilia from events that we've kind of acquired. So like Go Fest was in Chicago, so we got a giant banner for that.
Yep.
And Montreal had a Go event, so we got a banner from that. And
nice.
The World Championships, we got a couple flags and some mats from that as well, just from knowing people that work at the Pokemon at the Pokemon company. And that's
awesome.
That's about it.
I want to ask you now about this 10 SIM card thing. Is this something that you've run across in the Pokemon Go community?
I have not. I honestly don't play a lot of Pokemon Go anymore. No, I've never seen that. I heard you were talking about it. I had no idea what it was. So what did we decipher? Because I had to leave my computer.
Not much. Like I looked up the eBay listing where I bought it, and it has no use cases listed. It just says that it's an easy way to switch between 10 SIM cards, which
interesting. I don't know.
And it's not like it's
Go doesn't have any kind of SIM card connectivity other than like data, so I don't really know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Well, it remains a mystery. Scaberat wants to know, have you ever had 2 shinies show up at the same time?
I actually can say yes to that. It happened 2 years ago. My friend was over actually, and he had no idea what was going on here. Kind of like everybody, I feel like in this stream, where it's just like bewilderment, but also confusion. So he was just kind of sitting around watching us play, and I freaked out. My older brother freaked out, and he was just sitting there clueless as to what happened. But yeah, so it's a 1 in 8,000 chance for a shiny to spawn. So even if you have 16 permeations of that, like it's very, very unlikely. So we did the math. It's I believe it was 1 in 500,000 sets of encounters. So you saw me do 2.
Crazy.
So it's extremely, extremely, extremely uncommon.
That's crazy.
And the Pokemon that we found were both exactly the same. Same Pokemon, same level. They were very almost carbon copies of each other.
Amazing. Yeah. That's wild.
Yeah, that's about it. So yeah, we do this with GameCubes. We do this with Nintendo Switches, and we do this with Nintendo Wiis. Yeah,
that's incredible. That's incredible. It looks like you've got a streaming setup there. You've got a green screen and stuff.
I do. Yes. Streaming setup. We do okay. We've been streaming for a little while now. Yeah, it's honestly a really nice way to meet new people. But there's always a lot of people that come in to the streams nowadays that I don't know. Ever since I started working, I stopped streaming. More often now, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah. Where can people find you? Where do you stream?
Sure.
Shout out your channel.
Professor's Lab, twitch.tv/Professor's Lab, or on YouTube as Professor Rex. That is my brother.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Scaberat, can we put those as links in the chat so people can go subscribe and follow?
Thank you. I appreciate the time. I've been following Strange Parts forever, so.
Oh, well, thanks. Awesome. It's really cool to see what you've been up to. Thanks for taking the time to share, and this is just incredible. So if you want to see this in action, go follow Tops on Twitch and or YouTube. I'm gonna subscribe once I get off the stream here. I want to see this live in action.
Yeah, we posted a video yesterday that goes into a little bit of detail about how it works as well. Awesome.
Yeah. And then how often are you live?
My older brother is live way more than I am. I'm a nuclear operator right now, so I don't really have a lot of free time. But he streams likely every 3 days or so.
Okay. So on a regular basis. So if folks follow, they'll be able to catch him soon.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Yep.
Take care.
That was awesome. Like I said, things I had no idea existed prior to this. Very impressed. Thank you again, Tops, for showing that off. And hopefully Scaberat can throw some links in the chat here. Oh, Scaberat didn't catch those names. We'll get them here in a sec. Scaberat, if you want to get with Tops. And we're working on it. Okay, sweet. Awesome. My keyboard's still not working. It's giving me high-pitched tick sounds. Like a high-pitched sort of bell sort of thing. No idea why. So that's awesome. Caps lock is not working. No idea how to fix it. I also have a very heavy dog in my lap. Well, let's get somebody else on deck here, if we can. And yeah, Scaberat, if you want to go ahead and kind of get somebody else teed up as we're finishing up with the previous person, that'd be awesome. I think we've been going 2 hours here. I think we might start to wind down. I feel bad that folks have signed up and we're not going to get through everybody. I thought we were going to have the opposite problem, but yeah. Okay, Scaberat says Ferferite has sent some images to look at. Okay, let me pull those up. Oh, don't bark just because you're not on my lap. You've got hair all over me. Let's see. What? Come here. Come here. Are you only gonna not bark if you're sitting on my lap? I think that might be the thing. Which is really obnoxious, you know? All right, let's see here. How do I go through these? Let's pull up Ferferite. Okay. Okay, sweet. Awesome. All right, so let me pull up the image so we can all see it. And then, oh, this looks cool. Okay, 1 sec. Okay, cool. Sorry, this is still a little bit janky. All right, share screen. And we are going to share this. All right. So, oh, that didn't quite do what I wanted. I do it this way? No. All right, let's try it this way. Here we go. Okay, so I'm now going to read his description. So he says, my unfinished room kitchen vacuum lithium ion conversion. Had this for so long, the old nickel cells were pretty much dead, so decided to swap it out for an 18650 cell, which is a standard size lithium ion like round cell. It's a bit bigger than a AA. Bypassing the TP4056. I don't know what that is. That since it can't drive the motor directly, and I am running it directly from the battery connected through a relay. It must be a motor controller or something. Also modified the old base to work with the TP4056 charger. Oh, it's a charger. Okay. Now waiting on a voltage regulator since I feel like the 4.2 volts, the lithium cell is too much for the motor. So this must be, so this is a room kitchen vacuum. Oh, I see. Ferferite says the TP4056 is the lithium ion charger, and just manages the charging, so to not overcharge or undercharge the lithium cell. So probably the BMS, the battery management system. So managing the lithium cell and making sure that it's healthy, staying healthy, and that it's not going to explode and or just ruin itself by undercharging. That's pretty awesome. And then this is this a robotic vacuum for Ferferite, or is this just like a small kitchen vacuum? I'm a little fuzzy on that part. Maybe this is just like one of those handheld sort of dustbuster type things. A handheld vacuum, okay, like a dustbuster sort of deal. So one of those with the handle and about yay big. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I love stuff like this where it's just like, hey, this thing mostly still works, but it needs to be updated a little bit. Really, really great little projects and great learning opportunities too. So this is awesome. Yeah, show us once you get it fully working. Show us the finished product. That is fantastic. All right, what else we got here? Let's do a couple more. Oh, we've got another one here. We've got, let's do Sebastian / Sejoki. And let me bring up some images. Hang on. Okay. Hang on, I got to download these. There's probably a more streamlined way for this to do this going forward, but for now, this is good. Sorry, I'm just saving off the images to my desktop so that I can easily bring them up in Image Viewer. There is a lot of hand soldering going on here. Give me a minute. Do we have Sejoki in the chat? Sebastian? Hopefully you're there. All right. Okay, so me start opening these now. All right, hang on. Let me get rid of this. And close that out. Okay. Hang on. Oh, can't use my keyboard still. Open. All right. I think these are in reverse order. I don't know if I've got these in the right order, but we'll give it a shot. Sejoki said in the forum that that they don't want to join. He doesn't want to join. Just wants me to talk about it. Yeah, and it's totally fine to do that. I still want to see your projects. Don't worry about it. Come here. Come here. Is this just too long? Is this too long to wait? Come here. He wants to go outside and run around, I think. All right, we're going to make this the last show and tell item here. Okay, so let me pull up. Sorry, we'll work on streamlining this a little bit. Okay, we're going to share this. Okay, so I've got some images here. So we have some sort of enclosure. All right, so let's see what this is. Okay, so Sebastian writes, a little project I finally finished a couple of months ago. It's a Wi-Fi connected doorbell I integrated into Home Assistant. Home Assistant is great, by the way. If you want to do like DIY home automation stuff, Home Assistant is the go-to place. And then you can integrate into Alexa and all of that stuff from there. I had this idea in my head for years, and none of the commercially available solutions quite fit my needs. It was really fun figuring it all out, just taking it step by step, finding instructions to do one thing, and then transforming that information to do another thing. The heart of it is an ESP8266, which I definitely recognize, sitting right here. You can't see my cursor, but it's in the upper left. It's that blue board in the upper left with the silver CE symbol on it. And so the heart of it's the ESP8266. And if you don't know what that is, it's like you can think of it as a small size Wi-Fi enabled Arduino. You can use it with the Arduino IDE, the Arduino programming interface. You can use it in other ways too, but it can jump on Wi-Fi and you can wire stuff to it. They're great and they're cheap. They're super cheap. If you buy just the ESP8266 daughter board, which is just that black little board sitting on the blue board, they're like a couple bucks. And if you buy it with like the USB interface and all of that, then they're like, I don't know, $8 or $9 last time I bought them. He goes on to say, I have two switches to control the lights and the street level buzzer via a relay. So he says, I live in an apartment, so it's only the door to enter the building. So two switches to control the lights and the street level. Okay. To pick up, if someone is ringing my bell, I use a bridge rectifier to get from 8 volts AC to 8 volts DC, and then a capacitor to stabilize that current, step that down to 1.5 volts and into an optocoupler, which then pulls the pin on the ESP high. So basically, he's all of that is to get the signal of someone pushing the bell, right? Which I guess is coming in 8 volts AC. Which is probably like the original building setup is my guess. I mostly wanted to have it send notifications to my phone. That's awesome. So I could have stopped there, but I thought having a more conventional door bell sound would be nice. So I got a DF Player Mini, a small MP3 player that can play files from an SD card. Obviously, I had to have it play a clip from the Symptoms episode with Senor Ding Dong. Amazing. I love it. Let's see. Let's pull up some other images here. So, that's weird. Okay. So, you can see my cursor here. That's cool. Okay. So here's it mounted on the wall. Looks like. And then here's the PCB itself. And the wiring, it's all hand wired on a breadboard. Oop, that's Ferferite's image. There was one other one here. Oh, here. Oh, that's interesting. What did you use to generate this image? This is cool. I didn't know there were CAD. Did you all do this all by hand, or is there some sort of program that does like solder breadboard stuff? Drew it up in Rhino. Oh, that's interesting. He says, I sketched it out in CAD and was happy with my second iteration. It's been working flawlessly for 3 months now. I get notifications when I'm away from home. I can buzz myself in when I'm entering the geofence around my apartment. That's awesome. So it just automatically buzzes you in when you get close. That's amazing. And I can also silence it when I'm not expecting anybody. It really helps splitting everything into small sub-projects, getting one thing working, getting the feeling having accomplished something, and then continuing from there instead of trying to do everything at once. I absolutely agree. And he said, an approach I definitely learned from your videos. Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, that's totally my approach, is like, how can I break this up into smaller projects, smaller problems to solve, so that, yeah, one, you can get that feeling of accomplishment, but two, you're not troubleshooting everything at once, right? You build one thing, troubleshoot that, get that working, build another thing, troubleshoot that, get that working. And then the third step is integrating those together and troubleshooting the integration, right? And it's the way a lot of good engineers approach things. It's not special to me in any way. So this is awesome. This is a very cool little project. And so let's see, what else do we have here? We have, this is the ESP8266 with some sort of development breakout board thing. It looks like it's got a USB plug here for easily programming it. If you get just this thing, you have to build a programmer or use a programmer in some way, because it just has these castellated holes around the edges. So for a few bucks more, it's for projects like this is way easier. And then this is the relay that's presumably controlling like the ability to buzz people in, right? Probably interfacing with the original door system. And then I'm guessing that this is the MB3 player here. And then I don't know what this is. A power supply, maybe? What's this down in the lower right corner, Sebastian? That's a step-down converter. Okay, so that's converting from 8 volts down to 1.5 volts so that it's a safe voltage for the ESP8266, because you can't run 8 volts into that without frying it. Very, very cool. I really like that. And it's really fun sort of upgrading old sort of legacy systems, particularly in things like apartment buildings, to newer technology. So I love it. I love it. Thank you for sharing. All right. Well, I think that about does it here, guys. We've been going for about 2 hours and 15 minutes. This has been awesome. Thank you to everybody who shared a project, and in particular, thank you to Scavrat for helping moderate and run things behind the scenes here. This has gone much more smoothly than I expected, and it's due in particular to Scavrat's help, but also DJ Marlis, which I don't know if you're still with us, Marlis, but DJ Marlis did all of the research work to figure out how we were going to wire this all up so that we could have people as guests, and we're using Restream.io as the platform here, which I'm really liking. This has gone really well. It's got, it's doing the little label that says Scotty down in the corner. It's allowing us to bring in guests with just a web browser. It's been really awesome. And the other thing that we can do is mods can highlight messages that I can bring up on screen. So I'm going to go through the last of the pinned messages here. I think some are old, but we'll bring some stuff up. So I know this is very old. This is from almost 2 hours ago, but when we were talking about AliExpress, Alex Wavediver said there are these olive/seed pressing machines for making oil that basically are an auger next to a long motorized screw. And I was wondering if it would be possible to convert them into a plastic injection machine. Sounds like a good idea to me. If you're not aware, the project Precious Plastic or Precious Plastics is amazing. It's open source plans for a complete end-to-end plastic recycling line, including plastic injection molding machine, things like that. So actually turning it into a finished product, not just, you know, shredding the plastic and melting it. So that's pretty awesome. Let's see. What else we got here? I think we got a lot of these, or they're yeah, most of these were stuff on previous conversations that the time has passed on. So I think we'll, oops. Fix the keyboard and build in that 19 SIM card holder. Bit love the live. Oh, love the live so far. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I clicked on that by accident, but all good. All right. Star messages here. Sean asks, do I plan to do more like this? Absolutely. We're going to make this a regular feature. My hope is to do this weekly. We'll see how that feels. I'm trying to be mindful of making sure that I don't burn out. And so doing this on Saturdays is a little bit weird in that regard, in that, you know, I already work, you know, a pretty solid work week. And so I've been trying to take time off on the weekends. So we'll see. This has been super fun. I've really enjoyed it. But that's my one caveat. The other thing is that hopefully I'll be traveling more coming up soon. So my goal is to have these happen, even if I can't be on the stream, that we have some other hosts jump in and continue to do it. My goal is really to make this a community event and not, you know, solely centered around me. So I've been super impressed by everything everybody's shown off today. It has well exceeded expectations. So hopefully that will continue and we'll kind of snowball this year. And, you know, my goal is really that these conversations and people showing things off will continue in the Discord. So if you're not already on Discord, you absolutely should come join. If you've enjoyed this, is there are a ton more projects that people are showing off on Discord. And we'd love to have you. Even if you just want to come lurk, or if you want to come show off your project, or you've got questions, or you want help with stuff, come hang out. There's a bunch of kindred spirits there, and you know, all sorts of really interesting things happening. So come join us there. And then also, if you'd like to support Strange Parts, the best way to do that is via Patreon. So if you go to patreon.com/strangeparts, I'm posting all sorts of behind the scenes stuff there. And really that, you know, that support goes towards projects, and then I'm trying to hire some folks. And so really having that kind of reliable monthly revenue stream really just goes towards other people's salaries that are going to be joining Strange Parts. So you know, having that sort of security to make sure that I can always pay people that are working with me is really huge. So I really appreciate that. And if you'd like to support, the tiers start at $5 a month and go up from there. Also, if you would like a Strange Parts t-shirt or a Strange Parts hoodie, joining the Patreon is the only way to do that right now. The only way to get one. So so you can go check that out. Yeah. And I think with that, we are going to wrap up here. So thank you all. I'm going to try and do these at the same time again next week. So, and hopefully we'll do it every Saturday at noon Pacific time, US time. And yeah, well, you know, so that's like 3 p.m. Eastern, and I don't know, maybe the European folks can do the time zone math to GMT and that sort of thing. But yeah, the hope is to make this a regular event. So this has been fantastic. I thank you all for tuning in, and come join us on the Discord, which I'm going to throw that up one more time here. So I'll be hanging out there on and off the rest of today, as will a bunch of other folks. So come join us, show us what you're doing. And I'll see you again next week here. Take care. Have a great weekend. You want to say goodbye? You've been whining this whole time. You say goodbye to everybody? Look up there. Okay. All right. Not so much. Goodbye, y'all. Have a great weekend.